What is Biocybernaut?
Biocybernaut is to inner space what an astronaut is to outer space. A little bit broader definition is the "naut" suffix comes from Greek, and it means someone who goes on an adventure. The bio part is we're doing this through our bodies and our brains. The cyber has to do with the cyber technology. So a biocybernaut is someone who uses the cybernetic technology to go on an inner adventure of exploration, of inner space. A biocybernaut is to inner space what an astronaut is to outer space.
What is the benefit of someone increasing their alpha brainwaves?
Well, there are many benefits. They include 50% increase in creativity from the Alpha 1 training and an 11.7 point increase in IQ from the Alpha 1 training, improvement in relationships. At the bottom line, what the Alpha training does is it improves central nervous system function. And I invite you to think of anything that you as a human being do that doesn't require a well-tuned central nervous system. And so the Biocybernaut training will help improve your central nervous system function, and it'll help improve everything that you do.
How is Biocybernaut different from other neurofeedback trainings?
Well, the Biocybernaut process and technology are both individually and separately patented. Our main patents have had like 29 different features, 29 different points. And the technology needs to be accurate, the feedback needs to be immediate, and it needs to be reasonably aesthetic. And there are many aspects of this technology which are so unique that they are patented. Now, one of the differences in how we apply the technology is covered in our method patents, because we do the training as a 7-day high-tech vision quest. And so instead of going to somebody's office for an hour or 90 minutes, a couple times a week, people come and spend at least 12 hours a day for 7 consecutive days going on the Biocybernaut journey inward. So it's not just the technology. There are 3 things that make the Biocybernaut training so effective. 1 is the patented ergonomic technology. 2, the ergonomic training protocols, which are also patented. And the third essential ingredient is the transformational perspective of the trainer. So when you come out of the chamber, having done your neurofeedback work with this patented technology, you then go to a canopied room where we have canopied beds, and a skilled trainer will interview you about your experiences and draw out details of your experience, which if you weren't encouraged to speak about them, would be forgotten the next day. And so the trainer coaches you, helps you, guides you, and so it's a collaborative journey where you have the benefit of others' wisdom in your own inner exploration.
$15,000.
Training is about 100 hours of coaching, and so that makes it about $150 an hour. Certainly less than I pay my accountants and my attorneys. To date, I've put in over $23 million in developing the technology. This is not something you can buy in the dime store or even at something like Best Buy's. The technology is a system. It is a salon-based system in which 5 people can simultaneously participate with 5 separate chambers and a staff of technicians to run the technology, and a highly skilled trainer to assist you and guide you in your explorations. At the end of each session, you gather with the other trainees in a canopied bed room, and the trainer will interview you in deep ways to draw out of you the details of your experience so that you can remember them better, so you can apply them in your life. And so we don't think the training is expensive. We think it's cheap at $150 an hour. It's probably the best gift that you could give yourself.
What impact has your work to date had in individuals, families, and communities?
One of the easiest ways to answer this for individuals is to look at personality change. We give personality tests before the training and after, and we find massive beneficial improvements in personality. Reductions of anxiety, reductions of paranoia, reductions of depression, reductions of schizophrenia. Many different aspects of psychopathology are reduced by this training, and the results are lasting. 6 months later, the benefits are even stronger. 12 months later, the personality benefits are even stronger. So individuals benefit, first of all, by improvement in their central nervous system function, and this shows up as increases in creativity, 50% on average, increases in IQ, 11.7 points on average, improvement in relationships. Relationships. That begins to answer, or at least ask the question, what about the benefits for families? Many times people are considering whether to come for the training with family members, and I tell them always, always come with family members, because not only will you heal your emotional traumas, but the relationship that you have with a mother, a father, a child, a lover, a spouse, all of these are beneficially healed by doing the work of forgiveness, the profound work of forgiveness, so people understand why you were the way you were, and they bring compassion, understanding, and their own forgiveness. So individual relationships are profoundly benefited. In fact, the surveys that we did of trainees after the training shows a wide range of benefits. The strongest category of benefits is improvement in relationships. Tied for second in terms of statistical significance are reductions of anxiety and increases of creativity. But the strongest, number one effect, strongest statistically, is improvement in your relationships. And so that's going to benefit your family, it's going to benefit your friends, it's going to benefit your co-workers. So the final part of the question, how does it benefit the community? One of the things that we've learned by surveying people who've done the training, and with their permission, surveying their family members, their friendship networks, and their co-workers, we have learned that high consciousness is contagious. So when people improve within themselves, the new ways, the better ways, the more honest ways, the more forgiving ways, the more loving ways that they relate to people in their networks, family, friendship, and co-workers, so improves those relationships that we can actually measure benefits in the family members, in the friends, and in the co-workers. High consciousness is contagious. And soon there is an article coming out in a peer-reviewed medical journal which documents this at the highest level of peer-reviewed science. The Biocybernaut form of high consciousness is measurably contagious and improves relationships with everyone, family, friends, and co-workers.
Could you speak a little bit about the Aboriginal Scholarship Program in Canada?
Oh, I'd be happy to. There is a private philanthropist who has been sending Canadian Aboriginals through the Biocybernaut training program. The level of trauma in the Aboriginal community is huge. 80% of all the men in the Aboriginal community have been sexually abused as children. Same 80% for women. And in some of the tribes, it's 100%. There's also a residue of trauma from the residential school program, where children were ripped away from their families and sent off to the Indian schools to be de-Indianized. Many of them died there, many of them were brutalized. And so the level of post-traumatic stress is endemic in the Aboriginal community. And so this philanthropist, knowing of these problems, has been sending Canadian Aboriginals to the Biocybernaut training program, the Alpha 1, the Alpha 2, and the Alpha 3. And we have found such profound benefits that the results have actually been published in a peer-reviewed medical journal, Advances in Mind-Body Medicine, in November of 2012. And we've documented the improvements, the benefits, improvement in psychopathology. Now, there are also other benefits in terms of the Aboriginal communities are benefiting. The individuals, 71% of the Canadian Aboriginal surveyed 6 months after their Alpha 1 training, 71% had either gotten a job or gotten a better job or started or expanded a home business. They had more savings, less debt, and more sources of income. These are direct benefits of the consciousness changes that are produced by doing the Biocybernaut Alpha training, which, as you know, improves central nervous system function. When the number of Canadian Aboriginals through the program reached the square root of 1% of the Aboriginal population, I was invited by the United Nations to speak in Geneva to the Aboriginal section about this work. And so the work is becoming known on a global stage, and even Aboriginals who live out in the bush without electricity or running water are able to participate in the program. And the awakening of hope in people who had none is incredibly gratifying and heartwarming. And so this training, I'm fond to say, this training isn't for everyone, it's only for people with brains. And the scholarship program makes it possible for people to participate who really have no contact with technological civilization even, and they find extraordinary benefits.
Where can I go to get Biocybernaut training, and what is your vision for the world?
You can go to 3 different countries presently to get Biocybernaut training. In the United States, it's Sedona, Arizona. In Canada, it's Victoria, British Columbia. And in Germany, it's Meyerhofen, Bavaria, Germany. And there are fully equipped Biocybernaut centers in all 3 of those locations, and we're in discussions with other people in other countries to expand Biocybernaut because the vision is truly global. What I'm seeking to create is a global brain in which each human being's brain is linked together like the neurons in our own brains are linked together. And when you link 5 to 10 billion neurons, like we do in our brain, you get the emergence of a self-reflective consciousness. When we can link the brains of the 7 billion people on planet Earth, or even most of them, we will then create a planetary consciousness, the global brain. And this technology can serve as the central nervous system for doing that link up. And so Biocybernaut is here to help individuals, to help families, to help communities, and also to create the global brain.
How does this training improve someone's spiritual development?
In many ways. The core of the training, the Alpha training, is a 14-step forgiveness method. Jesus spoke eloquently and repeatedly about the necessity and the importance of forgiveness. Biocybernaut trains people how to do effective forgiveness. In addition, the Alpha 1 training allows you to produce brainwave changes which are comparable to those who have done Zen to the point of being considered advanced. This typically takes between 21 and 40 years. So here we have, in 1 week, aided by technology, spiritual development which corresponds to 21 to 40 years of Zen practice. The reduction of anxiety, the reduction of fear, the reduction of anger, and the expansion of hope and joy are very important parts of anyone's spiritual development. In Canada, where we're doing an Aboriginal scholarship program, the Native elders are really pleased with us because when the people come and do the training, they return home wanting to learn more about their own spiritual traditions and to become involved in ceremony. The Biocybernaut consciousness is actually closer to the Aboriginal consciousness than it is to technology and logical and analytical and verbal forms of awareness. And so the Aboriginal people love us. In fact, after working with them for over a year, I was adopted into the Cree Indian nation.